Hey everyone, it's Jessie Terry with my Leadership Live. Today I'm going to be interviewing my friend Twan. I still don't know how to pronounce his last name, so I am so sorry, Twan. When you come on the video, you can say your last name because I have a hard time saying it. Before we begin, I'd like to congratulate Anna Palma on being the Leadership Spotlight of the Week. She is an amazing woman, and I hope you go and check her out. My friend Juan will be talking about some amazing things he's doing in the prison system and with youth and with the John Maxwell team. So when he joins, I would love for him to share that with you. It's going to be quite amazing. All right, let me get. So I'm just waiting for him to join. In the comments, comment where you're watching from, and if you're watching the replay, put #replay so I know how many people are getting plugged in and being touched by Twan's story. All right, let's see if we can add him on here. Let's see. Okay. I just added, and it's connecting. And can you hear
Hey,
me?
yes, I can hear you, my friend.
Perfect. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I am fantastic.
Okay, so let me see here.
Okay.
Okay,
Are you good?
you hear me loud and clear?
I
Yeah, I'm
can.
good.
Can you pronounce your last name because I just can't do it.
Twan Nguyen is my last name, or Nguyen's my last name.
Oh, okay.
Just like win,
Perfect.
like a win-win situation.
Uh-huh. I thought it was going to be something completely different.
Oh, I've had people slaughter my name in the past, so I'm kind of used to it.
If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell everyone your story, that would be awesome.
So what part would you want me to start at? I mean,
Your name and where you're from and what you're doing now.
okay. Okay, so a brief introduction of me. My name is Tuan Nguyen, and I am also part of the John Maxwell team. I have two organizations that I founded. One is Movement 21 Empowerment, which is really geared towards impacting culture by helping people break through barriers, mainly through leadership and communication. I believe that leadership and communication is so essential in helping build confidence and cultivating a vision for a person's life. And so I also have a nonprofit organization, which is a prison transformation initiative, which is geared towards leadership development for the prison culture and also raising up church leaders to equip their prison ministries to become more effective. Uh, so that's currently what I'm involved with right now. Uh, what else?
Why did you begin those organizations? Did you see a need or did God put it on your heart or did you just want to do it?
Well, of course, for some of you guys that don't know my story, I grew up in leadership behind prison walls. And so during that time, just the faith aspect alone was always evident in my life, and I always seemed to flourish inside prison culture. But there was always something missing every single time I got out. And what it was when I came home, it was like I lost that sense of value. And I realized I had the faith, I didn't have vision. And so most men and women come to prison because they lack vision. And so it doesn't matter how much you equip them with skills and stuff like that. Without a vision, it's very hard for a person to really choose or make the right decisions. I'll give you an example. Most men and women, or most men mistaking their value based on what kind of skill set they have. So I can come to prison and maybe uh, get a skill in learning something, right? Or maybe I'm seeking for a job to get out. When I get out, I'm seeking for a good job. So my whole value is based on what kind of job I get. And so if I can't get that job based on the skill set I have, I don't have value.
Mm-hmm.
And so you see how easy it is for a returning citizen or an inmate to come home and look for that value in a job and not find it because he has that X on his back.
Yeah.
And so now they go back to familiar places
Mm-hmm.
trying to find that sense of value. And if they really knew that they had a gift that God had placed inside them that would basically make room for them wherever they went, they would really find confidence in that. And so that's where the leadership development came in, because I knew that the biggest difference in my life was I started seeing myself as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And then through leadership, it gave me confidence, and also it gave me a clear vision for my life.
That's good. And how did you find
You
John
know,
Maxwell in the midst of that?
well, it was kind of like this, Jesse. You know, um, I discovered John Maxwell in prison, and
Mm-hmm.
basically how it worked was I started studying his material, and I loved his concept of leadership, and I started really investing in personal growth. And then one day I ran across an ad in the back of the book, and the ad basically was for Equip
Mm-hmm.
and the John Maxwell team. And I thought to myself, man, I don't know what I don't know what this looks like on how I could get involved with working for John Maxwell team or working for Equip, but this was like the beginning of my dream, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing was, that's how I discovered the John Maxwell team, and I started inquiring about it more and more. I was able to connect with one of my officers that I was locked up with, and eventually he jumped on board the John Maxwell team, and now here we are. So he's bringing in leadership notes for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning how to do things like masterminds and stuff like that. For you, some of you guys don't know what that is, but masterminds is pretty much kind of like a group setting where you ask these great questions using the material that we have through John Maxwell team. And what it does, it draws the answers out of a person. So that's why good leaders ask great questions.
Mm-hmm.
And so for so many of us, we have the perception that I just got to tell you what you need to be doing, and that really doesn't work too well,
Yeah.
And so I discovered that concept, and I made it my mission to join the John Maxwell team when I got out.
That's great.
And actually, I joined the John Maxwell team before I got out, which was kind of cool how that all turned out, and just how I how I evolved as a John Maxwell team member to doing what I'm doing now.
That's great. What's been the most impactful thing since you started the John Maxwell team?
Man, there's been so many things, to be honest with you, that that I've been able to do. Just really coming out of prison and starting two businesses was big for
That's
me
really big.
because I literally kind of jumped out there. Me and April Holly, which is my business partner.
Mm-hmm.
So we collaborated. We have very powerful testimonies of how God's grace brought us from stories of addiction to redemption.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was never incarcerated, but she's dealt with incarceration all her life with her family and stuff like that. I actually was incarcerated. So just coming out of prison, launching two businesses. I have a Salt and Light leadership program that we actually started in the prison right now, because now I'm actually working for Equip, which is John Maxwell's nonprofit side, which has equipped over 7 million leaders worldwide
Yeah.
and is in over 196 countries uh, with transformational leadership. So that was all part of the dream.
Mhm.
So being part of John Maxwell's nonprofit and being part of the John Maxwell team collectively is like so cool.
It's huge. And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What do you want to be doing?
I really see myself speaking on a national level.
I could see that.
My passion is really to speak on a national level for prison fellowship or just really the prisoners.
Mhm.
I really believe that I have a strong message on how vision cultivates authenticity and then how authenticity breeds confidence.
Mhm.
So that's kind of like my central theme that I work with now is because number one, we come from a prison culture where number one, vision is lacked. And so without vision, you're not going to have clarity on who you really are.
Yeah.
And so authenticity is so pivotal before leaving prison.
Mhm.
And so imagine if you don't have authenticity in your life and you really are searching for identity still, then you don't have a vision for your life. Here's what's going to happen. Since you don't have a plan for your life because you don't know since you don't know who you are, you're going to fall under the plans of someone else just like that.
That's true.
I mean, it happens all the time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Have you gotten to work
right.
with any youth at all since you've started your business?
I Yeah, so I've been working. I've partnered up with several JMT members to do global youth initiative events. So I've been able to work with high schoolers and even kindergartners too, and we've done some pre-K stuff too, which is just mainly reading books to them. So we've been able to do a couple of GYI events. I do have a heart for the youth
Mhm.
because I believe that two of the greatest areas where leadership is needed is prison culture and the youth.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times we spend so much time implementing new programs for the prison, we're forsaking or forgetting that, hey, there's a generation right now that's growing up, that's lost, and that's lacking vision and it's lacking leadership.
Yeah.
And so here's what happens. We might be improving on the recidivism on people not reoffending and coming back to prison, but you got a whole generation that is headed towards prison,
Mhm.
you know? So there has to be a balance in bringing those together. And I believe that that's why me and some of the other JMT members that are involved in prison ministry want to be that bridge. We want to be that bridge in connecting those two.
That's good.
Yeah.
Ah, that's amazing. Have you gotten to work one-on-one with anybody, or are you just mainly doing groups, or?
So I do a lot of mastermind groups virtual,
Mhm.
and I have facilitated a few different workshops using the leadership game and stuff like that. I do have a couple of coaching clients that I'm currently working with right now.
Mhm.
So just in the process, I've been building a lot of just momentum and building relationships, really leveraging my story.
Yeah.
So I'm in the process right now of just really working with a lot of juvenile probation officers too in the future.
That's great.
But yeah, but my heart really is leadership development inside prison.
Ah, that's awesome. How have you changed in the last few months? How have you noticed
Well,
change?
well, I changed my hair. I got a different haircut style just last week, so that's one change that I went through. I probably put on maybe a couple more pounds because I've been working out consistently, so that's another change. What else? Let's see here. I've changed my toothpaste because I want whiter teeth. How about that? How about that for a change?
I mean, it's a change.
Okay, well, I thought you'd be more specific, so no. How have I changed? I've changed in a lot of ways. Really, just number one, the question that's asked is, what is it like to be on the other side of Tuan? Meaning that in my leadership, what does it feel like to be on the other side of my leadership? And so that's one of the thought-provoking questions where it makes you actually look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, whoa, would I actually allow myself to be led by Tuan Nguyen? And so that was a very thought-provoking question in my life. And like, okay, with proper evaluation in my leadership, what do I need to change?
Mhm.
What do I need to change? And I really, there's a lot of room for improvement. And I can only speak for myself because I want to be able to grow to the next level, not just go from one place to the next. There's a big difference in a person growing into an opportunity versus just going into an
Mhm.
opportunity. And I think that's why now I'm a lot more strategic about my personal growth because personal growth prepares you for
Yeah.
opportunities. And without it, you're not prepared for these opportunities. So character development is real big on my radar because that's the only thing at the end of the day that's going to keep me in place. My talent will make room for me and it will open up doors, but man, if my character is not in check as a leader, I'll fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you were a kid and everyone asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up, did you think you would end up where you are now?
Absolutely not. No.
What was your plan
No,
as a kid? What did you want to do?
I mean, honestly, that question was never really asked of me. That's why good leaders ask great questions. And so I'm real big now on asking that question because inside each and every single one of us, there's a dream.
Hmm.
And it takes a great leader to be able to draw that dream out of you.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, growing up in a very high performance driven culture where most of my life was planned for me, like and that's just kind of like the Asian culture, how it operates. Your parents have plans for you. You're going to be this. You're going to be that, and that's all we kind of grew up just thinking that this is what is expected of me. I'm going to follow the trend because that's what seems to be successful. And so I never really had a dream growing up. I always wanted to be. I've always wanted to be on Saturday Night Live. I mean, that was something that I've always kind of was intrigued about was doing comedy
Hmm.
or acting. I love acting and just being funny. I don't know if I could do stand up, but definitely like, just acting was something that I love, was passionate about doing. And it just, no one ever drew that out of me, so I never pursued it.
Oh.
And I think deep down inside, I still have a part of me that wants to do that outside of what I'm doing now.
Hmm. So you've never gotten an opportunity to do any acting?
I've done acting in prison. I've done some live plays since I've gotten
Mhm.
out on a couple of different
Oh,
events.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Was it at a church or was it with friends or?
No, it was actually it was um it was a live from it was called From Test to Testimony,
Hmm.
where I played a certain character, was kind of like the hopeless romantic that
Oh my
was searching for love in all the wrong places. So I got to really get kind of real charismatic on stage,
God.
you know. So it was cool for me to actually pursue that or have the opportunity coming out to really just highlight maybe my potential acting skills.
Hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And if someone wanted to be a part of your prison transformation, what would they need to do to help you out or?
Oh, well, so there's a couple things that we're probably looking for right now. Is number one, like I'm looking for actual some volunteers. And so number one, like in building upon this vision, like we're looking to build a 12 to 15-month leadership program that's in place right now using like a lot of different John Maxwell team material. Uh, Moving forward, I'm not going to be able to teach all those classes.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to need help in that area of like, volunteers. And of course they'd have to be JMT certified members to be able to be equipped to teach the stuff. So that's one area. But the other area of need is just really raising just support. I knew that I had to create this nonprofit because I knew that I would probably have to struggle in maybe getting help from the state,
Yeah.
you know. So I just knew that as long as I just kept on building credibility, I kept on building testimonies. Now we have Salt and Light inside the prison right now So we went from 12 guys to 60 guys. We're about to have them graduate in September, and then we're going to launch another Salt and Light program. And once those guys graduate from Salt and Light, they're going to move into 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth.
That's all.
So we're going to need money for books and workbooks and stuff like that. We also are having a graduation ceremony where we present them Salt and Light certificates straight from Equip.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just always a transition of, what happens after each course, and so after Salt and Light, they're going to go into another 3 months. And so right now we're really looking on, man, we're going to need a lot of help on funding, on getting support on, paying for these books. That's one. We're going to need funding on, just throwing these guys a cool graduation ceremony where there's food involved. I did a pizza party, I think last month.
Mm-hmm.
And so the pizza party we did was, I worked with Papa John's. Okay. And it was funny because I went and started printing out John Maxwell pictures and quotes and stuff. And I slapped them on the pizza boxes. And so as they pulled them out, you had John Maxwell's picture on there saying he's Papa John, and it was cool because, one thing that John Maxwell always speaks about is, even in his videos when we show it in the prisons, is, hey, look, I know some of you guys don't have fathers, but I'll be your papa.
Mm-hmm.
He says, I'll be your papa. And that really resonates with a lot of inmates because they suffer from the absent father,
Mm-hmm.
And so I really thought it was cool to actually throw them a John Maxwell Papa John's pizza party, So we were able to do that maybe last month. So we want to just keep on doing that,
Mm-hmm.
because there's just something about bringing in free world food to those guys because they don't get it.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was the first John Maxwell book you ever read?
Failing Forward.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I read Failing Forward and the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so those were my first two books.
Okay. And if you want to
Yeah.
is there like a link or something you can put in the comments to your prison movement or your Salt and Light movement? You can do that if you have those.
Yeah, so I'll post that up. I guess maybe after the call if you want.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And
What else you got?
share your story about how you were able to go up on stage with the CEO of the John Maxwell Company. That was pretty amazing.
With Mark Cole. So yes, Mark Cole, I had no idea who Mark Cole was at this time when I was in prison.
Mm-hmm.
All I know was I had my dear friend, which was one of the officers, join the John Maxwell team. And as he joined the John Maxwell team, he was actually sharing some leadership notes with me. So here I am doing masterminds in prison. And so I love sharing this story about how my first mastermind was a paid mastermind. And the reason why it was paid was because I had to pay the guys to come to class. Right? And the reason why I paid them, it wasn't with money, but it was with like food and drinks and coffee and candy and stuff like that, because I knew how important personal growth and development was for an inmate.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to get people excited about their growth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got people out here that aren't even incarcerated that could care less about personal growth and development. I mean, they're content.
Mm-hmm.
You have people out here that are really content with just maybe living just an average life.
Yeah.
And I mean, hey, for them that's cool. But I wasn't content with that. So my passion behind personal growth and leadership was to the point where, hey, I got to get you guys in this class. Because if I can get you guys in this class, I could stir you up to get motivated about development. And so that's why I actually went to the point where I actually paid them to actually come to class. And guess what? Looking back on that right now, from where it all started, John says this: don't worry about the harvest. You just keep on sowing seeds. You keep on sowing seeds. Don't worry about the harvest. John says he's addicted to sowing seeds now.
Yeah.
And you look at the harvest that John Maxwell has now. I think he has 7 multi-million dollar companies.
Mm-hmm.
You got over 20,000 John Maxwell team members worldwide. Equip is in 196 countries, all because he just focused on sowing seeds. And so the same model that John uses, I'm trying to implement in the prison culture. So I don't worry about the harvest. Hey, just keep on sowing the seeds. So looking at the harvest right now, and not only that, where it's going, like I see it's evident because it went from 12 to 60. And then let me tell you this, that whole prison unit is thriving for leadership. They're thriving for leadership because there's a leadership hunger inside each and every single man. They might not care too much about the faith,
Mm-hmm.
but if you can draw them in through leadership, you can become the salt and light in their lives and they'll follow you because they see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a lot easier than trying to impose your faith to someone because so many people are doing that anyway, you know?
Yeah.
But imagine drawing a non-believer or someone of a different religion uh, to check out leadership. And as they start seeing the biblical model of leadership, which John teaches,
Mm-hmm.
which a lot of people don't know until they actually dig a little bit deeper, you'll see that this is all biblical.
Yeah.
And then imagine how easier it is to present Jesus coming into the picture now.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not coming from, let me impose your faith, let me correct you instead of connecting with you,
Yeah. I like that.
you know? So,
That's great.
mm,
I hope people are taking notes because you are saying some really good stuff.
yeah, so you guys take notes. I mean, I'm gonna probably just, nothing scripted. I'm just speaking from the heart on what has actually happened to me. So now I can actually speak on it because it's happened to me. Now it's gonna come through me.
Mm-hmm. The
Right.
first time I heard
Yeah.
you, the John Mark Cole was saying that there was a guy who was flying from a prison and he was gonna be in the John Maxwell team and he was changing lives. I'm like, oh my gosh, I gotta meet this guy. And then I never once saw you at the conference. And then I connected with you afterwards and you totally changed my life. I'm like, if somebody like that can do it, then I can do it too. I,
Absolutely. Oh, so yeah, so to finish that story, so I started teaching Mark Cole's notes in prison. Okay, I had no idea who Mark Cole was. I kind of heard briefly that he was maybe the CEO. I didn't know how big of an influencer Mark Cole was.
mm-hmm.
But all I did was I just started. As a matter of fact, I have his leadership notes somewhere around here. I keep it as a kind of like a memorabilia
Yeah.
on just remembering that, hey, this is what walking in vision looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So I hold dearly those things. And as a matter of fact, I even have written in my book, Everyone Communicates, Few Connect, where I actually say I'm going to meet John Maxwell. I'm going to meet John Maxwell in March. And I wrote that when I was in prison and I posted that on the site. But all these things started coming. I mean, all these things, uh, began taking place in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And as I was teaching Mark Cole's notes, when I got out, I had somebody reach out to me and says, "Hey, you got to get a hold of Mark Cole and share your story." So I said, "All right." So I got on a certification call one day and I just reached out to Mark. I said, "Hey, Mark, hey, man, it's good to finally hear your voice on this side of the fence." And Mark was like, "Wait, hold on. What are you talking about?" And I said, "Hey, Mark, let me share my story with you. Man, I've been incarcerated for the past 5 years. In these past 2 years, I started really, searching for the John Maxwell team. I joined the John Maxwell team before I got out, and I've been teaching off your leadership notes for these past 2 years. I mean, you've been mentoring me when I was in prison, and you didn't even know it." And right then and there began this great relationship with me and Mark Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Where he was so inspired by the story of where I came from in leadership that he literally reached out to reached out to me and said, hey, on the call, he said, hey, Twan, this is what I'm going to do for you. Each year, me and my wife, we sponsor someone, and we want to sponsor. Or he goes, are you in mentorship? And I said, no, I'm not. And I said, as a matter of fact, I'm still paying off my certification, right? He says, this is what me and my wife are going to do. We're going to go ahead and we're going to sponsor you into mentorship. You're an eagle, my friend, and I want to invest in you. And I thought that was so powerful because all my life, I've had many people invest in me. They never got a return. They never got a return out of their initial investment in me from my previous life. And so for someone like Mark Cole at his caliber in leadership and influence to say, hey, I believe in you and I'm going to invest in you was something so big for me.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? He's going to get a return.
Yeah.
He's going to get a return. As a matter of fact, I believe he's getting a return on that investment right now because of I finally believe in myself versus before, you know? So, but yeah, so that literally took me from getting into mentorship and then Mark saying, hey, I want you to share the stage with me at the IMC in front of over 3,000 people. And I said, let's do it. And so we started collaborating. We started working on the story. And March 2019, there I am, 104 days out of prison. Okay. Look at God. 104 days out of prison. I'm on the main stage with Mark Cole talking about living proof. And I got to speak and cast the vision of prison transformation to over 3,000 people.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that was cool because that was a defining moment in my life where God showed me the power of walking in vision. There was no, let me say this, there was no way that I could have got on that stage without God's vision over my life.
That's very true.
No way. I mean, they don't just put anybody on stage in front of that many people.
Yeah.
You know, so that was just powerful for me to come back from IMC. And here's what's so cool about it. I remember when I was on stage, the one thing I said was, God had placed me here to cast a vision. And I got a short video of that, and I'll probably post that on Monday of me and Mark Cole on stage with the brief interaction that we had. But I clearly said this on the stage. I said, hey, I'm not here for stage time. If any of you guys know what stage time was, I was preparing for stage time when I was incarcerated because I knew that I was going to be on stage, which sounds crazy, but I didn't know I was going to be on stage with Mark Cole.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be competing for stage time where I would be doing a 3-minute speech. I never would have thought I'd be standing there with the CEO of John Maxwell as my mentor, sharing the stage with him. I never would have thought that.
So cool.
And so here I am on stage, and these are my exact words. I said, God had impregnated me with a vision of joining the John Maxwell team for one thing, because he would use me to impact prison culture. And that was through the Prison Transformation Initiative. And I also said that I wanted to build on John's legacy. I thought it would be so cool because John Maxwell team's involved with so many things.
Yeah.
We got the global youth, we got transformational leadership in all these countries, and I was like, what about the prison culture? You know, and that's where God really showed me. He goes, you're going to be the catalyst.
Yeah.
You're the go-getter. I'm going to give you a voice. I'm going to give you a story. Hey, you're going to do it. And that's really my energy that drives me every single day, Jessie, because I believe in that. And you see that power of belief and walking in vision where it actually put me next to Mark Cole, you know? So, and so now I'm actually living proof of doing prison transformation, you know, salt lights in the prisons. We're working on another 12-month curriculum right now. It's going to be under approval, but I know God's going to open the door.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And for anyone watching and saying that their dream is too big. If it's too big for you, then it's what God can do, because it's only a dream if it's bigger than you. So go out
Absolutely.
and just chase it. Give it all to God. You can't do it on your own, but if you give it to God, you're gonna see amazing results.
Right.
Yeah, thank
Uh,
you for doing this with me. I really appreciate you taking time out to talk to me and share your story. I know it's gonna touch a lot of people.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while,
Yeah,
and I said, you know what? I said I just got to make some time. I got to make some
yeah,
time,
you're so
you know.
amazing.
Yeah. So, oh, I actually see some comments on there. Nancy, Jay, Jackie, Isaac, Rose Jean. So just giving you guys a shout out. Casey, all you guys that were on, Kelly on there too. So man, thank you guys for just jumping on and just tuning in. So you're talking about dreams, right?
Hmm.
And so I want to speak a word of encouragement too in just chasing after your dream. And I said this in a previous video that I did. Chasing your dream is free.
Hmm.
Okay? No, I didn't. Chasing your dream is not free. Having a dream is free.
Hmm.
Okay? Anyone can have a dream. John Maxwell, in one of his teachings in the Law of the Price Tag, I think, he says, "Hey, look, anyone can have a dream." And then he says, "Hey, look, Jesse, I'm not impressed about your dream. I'm not. I mean, you probably have your dream written on your refrigerator." He says, "You know what? Take it down. Take it down. I'm not impressed about what you got written on your refrigerator. What I am impressed about is what are you going to do to get there?
Hmm.
What are you going to do to get there? What are you going to do to achieve that dream? What price tag are you willing to pay to accomplish that?"
Yeah.
And I remember this story that really changed my life. I want to share that because I was listening to John teach one day, and he was teaching on the law of the price tag. You have to give up to go up.
Hmm.
There's always a price tag involved. And in that teaching, he was describing when he was at a speaking engagement, and during his breakout session, a young man comes up to him and says, "Hey, John, I've I've been watching you all morning, and man, I gotta give it to you. Like, you're just killing it. You're killing it, my friend." Well, this is my paraphrase version, okay?
Hmm.
All right. He's telling John, "Man, I love what you do. I mean, you're up there, you're cracking jokes, you're making everybody laugh, you're talking about leadership, like, man, and then all you do is you're just sipping on a cup of water, and in that moment, he says, "John, I love what you do. As a matter of fact, I want to do what you do." And this is what John said to that young man. And I'll never forget that because this was a shift in my life. He told the young man, he says, "That's great. I mean, I understand that you want to do what I do, but I got to ask you, are you willing to do what I did so that you can do what I do?"
Hmm.
And right then and there, John spoke to me in that video. John spoke to me in that video because I was that young man that was coming up to him and saying, "Hey, John, I love what you do. I want to do what you do." And in that moment, John was speaking in a video to a young man that I don't even know who he was, but that was me. And what John said to me in that video was, "Twan, I'm not impressed about what you want to do. What impresses me is what you're going to do to get there."
Hmm.
And at that moment, I said, "I'm going all in and I'm not looking back."
That's a good.
And I'm walking in the dream right
I
now.
love that story. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you to share, and your words are touching me as much as they're touching everybody else listening, and that are gonna.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything I can do to add value to anyone listening, even to you, Jesse, like, I mean, that's what we're here for is just to share our stories
Hmm.
and really inspire. You know, great leaders inspire, okay? Great leaders inspire people, you know? And I also want to share this too because I've learned right now that, and there could be more, but I like using two of the greatest acts in leadership is one, when you are able to help cultivate vision for another person's life. Many leaders cannot do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is once the leader is no longer in the presence of his people, they get lost because they couldn't cultivate a vision